Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm in the second floor of the Rosen Shingle Hotel for the NFB meeting, and I'm here with the Canute Mk12 to do some demos to lots of people, NFB members, people from other organisations, members of the Braillists as well. I've just finished doing a demo to Ben and Teresa from the forum. Ben, I think, is going to do a write-up of the Canute Mk12 for the forum, hopefully later in the week or next week. It's a huge event. This is my first time, and yeah, it's quite overwhelming. I'm going to go down in a bit into the main exhibition hall, which I've not been into yet, but I'm dashing from demo to demo, so I'm just finding a moment to go and have a look at all the technology, and obviously also interested in looking at the Braille, the Orbit, and everything else down there. I've just come out from the Sebastian Ballroom where they were having the directors meeting. There was about 20 directors. It's a huge ballroom. Must have been seating for, I don't know, 400 or 500 people. It wasn't all full, but it was a fascinating meeting. They had about 30 scholarship students who were standing at the front, and they were all going to be awarded between $3,000 and $12,000 for their university fees. And so they explained to us what they were doing, and then Mark Riccobono introduced several other speakers from different states to explain other sort of donations made from the states to the main body, and legal work done to improve civil rights for blind people around the states. So that's just finished right now, and I'm about to go back into the market, which is absolutely packed. The Independence Market for the National Federation for the Blind Convention is like a huge indoor bazaar. There's people calling out there from their stands. It's, for those who've been to either CSUN or Sight Village, it's comparable, although maybe bigger than Sight Village and not quite as big as CSUN. There's also a lot of stands from the individual state organisations, so National Federation for the Blind, Texas, and so on. And about a third of the whole space is given over to the NFB's shop, where they sell a whole range of goodies. I've bought two things myself already: a front-facing handheld embosser with a line feed and an interline slate as well. So I'm going to go and try and find someone who can tell us a bit about their products. So I'm going to head over to into the National Braille Press stand right now. So I'm here at the National Braille Press stand with Brian McDonald, the president. Brian, you've been showing me a few of the stuff that's on your stand. Also, we've been having a look at the Canute, but you've got some stuff about the new metric caliper from Squirrel and the Beta 2. So if you could tell, because I know the Braillists tested the old caliper.
Yeah, I would love to meet the Braillists sometime and get over there. As I said before, I'd love to come over to England. But so we've had the imperial inch measurement caliper for a while now. It was launched at CSUN in March 2016, and the metric one, I'm happy to say, is finished from a design and production point of view, and we're waiting for shipment right now from China.
So when are you hoping to get it?
Well, we were originally hoping it would be for this conference, but it didn't come, so we're trying to track that now. But
for those who haven't tried it, could you tell us a little about what their caliper is? Because it's much more accurate than your average Braille ruler, isn't it?
Yeah, so what we tried to do was, I have to give credit to two guys that are doctoral students at MIT from India. They went to a school for the blind there and saw that these kids were struggling to just measure inch marks. I mean, they were throwing inches, but a metric version, and to struggle to measure. So they added two protrusions, two jaws above the ruler that are, one's fixed on the left end, and the slider has a jaw. So you measure between those 2 points, and as you slide the slider to the right, there's a mechanical braille that'll show the 16th of the inch in the current version, or it'll show millimeters in the new version. So it has these little grooves in the middle of the ruler that these metal fingers pop up and down that tells you what braille to populate to give you the right number. And so it shows the numerator in inches. It'll show like 4 for 4/16 of an inch, or the new one will say 4 for 4 millimeters.
And for those who can't wait for that, I've got some of the Imperial ones, and I'm taking them to Site Village in next week. That is now.
Oh, nice.
So you've also got the B to G here as well.
Right. The B it's B number 2G for Braille to Go. That's the official trademark name of it in America, and it's a 20-cell refreshable Braille. I'll say display, but it's more of a tablet or computer because it has all functionality of a tablet. And we've launched at the same time we launched the Caliper, and it's doing really well. Right now, we're not selling it in Europe or the UK yet because we don't have a CE mark, but we're selling it in Canada, America, and Mexico with our NAFTA agreement, North American option. But we're really happy with it. It's getting really good response here, and we're really thrilled with it.
Well, I can see there's someone just around the corner having a go now, seeming to enjoy it a lot. Yeah. And you and I, we've had a look at the new Canute.
I love the new Canute. Yeah, I've been watching it. We've known each other for a while, and
yeah.
We're really happy with your development. I'm going to help push it a lot here, and the new version is slick. It's nice reduction in size and faster. Just a really great product. So we're all about multiple lines of Braille for complex STEM applications and equations and complex reading problems, and you can go back and read it all on one side.
Because of course the National Braille Press has got history with this. You've done your own multiple line prototypes, and you've got the famous Centre for Braille Innovation, haven't you?
Right. The foundation of the Centre for Braille Innovation was to be the broker around the world and find what new technologies we can leverage to really support Braille, e-Braille as well. And obviously yours is one of those products, and so that's why we're thrilled about it.
And the Braillists, of course, the Braillists Foundation set up to mirror that. We're set up to try and support and help those sorts of projects.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them don't have kind of support groups that can do the testing for them.
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to help with.
Yeah, and we're starting to do a bunch of YouTube channels for our B2G that shows how you can do standard hookups for Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and how to pair with an iPhone and do these different things. So all that stuff's so needed around the world. So we're excited.
Thanks a lot, Brian. I won't hold you up long because that girl looks like she wants to talk
I got
to you
a
about
customer.
the B2G. So.
All right. Thanks very much, Ed.
Thanks, Brian. I'm now in the Wekiwa corner of the resort at the moment. All around me there are small halls with organisations like the Computer Science Commission, I suppose, for the National Federation of the Blind, having a meeting, and I'm actually queuing to register now to attend that one. There's the KNFB Newsline meeting next door. Yesterday I went to the National Association to promote the use of Braille with Steve Booth as president, which is a fascinating meeting, and it was great to see what people in the States are doing to promote Braille, and see how we can learn from that in the Braillists Foundation. So that's where I'm going now, into the computer science meeting, which is just about to start. So I hope to come back and share with everyone in the local meetings all the interesting projects that people are up to here. So I'm here with Amy Mason from the NFB, the National Federation of the Blind. Hi, Amy.
Greetings.
We've just come from a Canute demo where we've been showing the Mk12, and of course it's the end of the day coming up now. So what's your impression of the event so far? Because you've been in loads of them. This is my first time, but how does it differ from previous years? What's changed?
Well, I'd say that the biggest difference that I'm seeing this year is that there's a lot of excitement for the first time for some of the lower cost Braille options.
Right, and there's been some orbits on sale, hasn't
there?
Yeah,
there have been a few orbits on sale. We're all kind of envious of the people that snapped them up.
Yeah, I tried. Were you in the queue?
I would have been, but I was working the first morning that all that was on sale, so I couldn't.
Yeah. I was doing an interview with, or not an interview, sorry, I was having a meeting with someone, and he wanted to leave quite urgently. So I said, oh, all right, bye then. And then I found out afterwards that he joined the queue, and he got the orbit, and I could have just followed him.
Oh, that's painful.
I know, but I went to the next meeting.
Yeah.
So, we just had a Canute demo. You saw the Mark 9 in the ICB in what, June was it? 2016 sometime?
Yeah, I saw it in June 2016.
So what's your impression of how it's changed since then?
It's a much more polished product. I know that this is still prototype, but this is something that even at prototype stage I'd be excited to try to use.
Yeah.
That there was just enough rough edges that even though I saw the potential and was very excited, I didn't feel like it could be a tool for someone that I already feel that this could be.
Right, you mean as a final prototype. And one of these rough edges
Yes.
is probably, you're referring to the dot finish is quite rough at the moment, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the dots are a bit rough. I think that the UI is going to take some tweaking, and I think we're really going to have to see all of the other organizations that will be important to this coming on board. Essentially, we need the screen reader guys to start thinking out what a multi-line Braille works with you guys.
Yeah.
What that's going to look like, because we're not looking at a fast refresh rate, which is fine.
Yeah.
But we've got so much space that we've got some amazing power.
Yeah, and because we were just having a conversation about, for example, like you don't need to use 9 lines to 9 lines of text. You could interweave that with format information, couldn't you?
Right, format information, or use it for revision history in documents like a Word doc that has comments and deletions and insertions and all of that revision work that's been done near the end of a project.
Yeah. So there's been the Orbit's gone on sale. I've been demonstrating the Canute a lot. There's the Taptillo, which I saw a demo of that earlier. That's looking very interesting as well, isn't it?
I adore that little device. I think that it's really an exciting piece of the puzzle of helping to get more kids involved with Braille and get them more opportunity to start learning early, and really a nice tool for adults who maybe aren't ready yet for the size of the Braille dots, because that's going to take some practice.
So we explain to people who haven't had a chance to see it, which is almost everyone.
Right.
It's only just, I think they just launched it here, didn't
Yes.
they? So it's $900. It's got a huge Braille display on the bottom, as in the Braille dots are what they spaced almost like half an inch, quarter of an inch apart from each other.
Yep, that's about right.
And then there's some sort of like a surface on the top that you make your own Braille. Like,
yeah.
Did they give you one of those?
I bought one of them.
I bought one as well. Yeah.
Let me see if I got it here in my purse. But essentially, how it works is that it has 6 Braille dots in a plastic shell that essentially is similar to what's sometimes called a swing cell or another practice device. There are lots of terms for some of these little guys, but this is one of the most satisfying feeling ones I've ever found.
So it's like a key ring. It's about 1.5 inches high, isn't it?
Yep.
And then you pop the dots through either from the back or from the front to make. And the idea is that that sort of extra large Braille display on the bottom pops up with a series of words from their internal memory, and it's got a voice that speaks it, and then it's got that, and then you match the dots that come up on the display with these little keyring character things which are lined up along the top.
Yep, and then it's able to tell how you have changed the Braille on each of the little individual cells. It tells you whether or not you've done that correctly.
Yep.
One of the things I've liked best about it, honestly, was they have a word scramble game. So on the bottom, on the bottom you might see EESHC, and you could then try and guess the word, which in this case I was thinking cheese, CHEESE.
Yeah.
Or mouse, or anything. You've got 9 cells of Braille in that particular device, jumbo cells.
Yeah. So I should say also that hopefully I'll be taking one of these back to Site Village, Birmingham. It'll be on the Braillists stand because they're very interested in working with the Braillists and getting their feedback. So is there any other things that have been particularly interesting in Braille innovations that you've seen so like the L Brailler or the B2G or anything like that?
Well, I'm always excited by the fact that the note takers are finally moving into a more up-to-date
Windows 10
operating system, Windows 10 or Android, depending on the option. I am excited by the fact that we're seeing just more affordable options with Braille displays, even though that usually in the mainstream ones is meaning smaller.
So this is the 14-cell one from Freedom Scientific in particular?
Yeah. And I'm not personally a fan of smaller, I will admit that. I find that problematic for anyone who's going to be doing anything much more than cell phone work.
Yeah.
Certainly for me, I couldn't make sense of using one. I learned as an adult, and I'm not a fast Braille reader and do a lot of my work via the fact that I'm reading and using a lot of context. So 14 cells is never enough context for me to make sense and keep track of what I'm reading. Correct.
So if you're looking ahead to next year, how many have you been to?
Not consecutive, but about 15. No, not that many. 12.
So, looking ahead to next year, what would your guesses be? Your predictions for what's changed in the Braille world this time next year?
If we get to see products like Canute and Orbit properly manufacturing and shipping, I think we're going to see a lot more Braille in the hands of people who couldn't afford it before but have loved it. And I hope we'll start seeing a lot more people thinking about ways that we're going to be educating the next generation on these tools, because I've been worried about the fact that teachers have not had a tool that was inexpensive enough to really cut the argument that Braille is hard and expensive. Braille is worth the expense. Braille is literacy. And Braille is not hard when you get to learn it as a child. Learning to read Braille is no harder than learning to read print, and that makes such a difference.
Well, fingers crossed for that next year. Thanks, Amy.
Thank you.
So we're in the exhibit hall with Heather from APH, the American Printing House, and Venkatesh from Orbit Research. Thanks for joining us. So the big news is that you've been selling some Orbits.
Yes, we have.
You've been selling some Orbits, and those sold out within around about 35 seconds of you getting to the stand. Is that right?
Pretty much, yes.
So I know most of the people listening will know a lot about the Orbit already, but maybe if you can give us a brief overview for those who haven't picked up on this yet.
Should we take that?
The Orbit Reader 20 is a 20-cell Braille display. It can read books on SD card. It can be used to take notes and also connects to a phone or a computer as a Braille display. And its, I guess its salient features that it's affordable. So it's priced and it was sold at the show for $450, $449.
$449, that's right.
And my personal favourite feature, it's got very solid Braille.
That's right.
It doesn't compress.
That's right. It's a different technology than the piezo technology that's typically used.
And you sold, was it 20 odd in the ACB?
Yes, and then about 32 here.
About 32 here. So it has gone on sale now, and presumably it's going to go on wider sale fairly soon.
Yes.
Okay. And the other thing that you've been showing today is the graffiti. Now I know virtually no one listening to this will have heard of the graffiti. So this is a joint project between APH and Orbit.
That's right.
What's the graffiti?
The graffiti is an interactive tactile graphic display.
Mm-hmm.
And so it has an array of 2,400 pins laid out as 60 columns and 40 rows. And it can display graphics and images. It has the ability to set the pins to multiple heights, so you can show relief drawings, topographical maps and represent color and other information by different levels of the prints.
Okay. And one of the most interesting things that I find about this is the hardware is fascinating, and you were telling me about how you had to do all sorts of crazy stuff to get the capacitive touch so you can actually draw with it, right?
That's right.
Because that doesn't normally work when you've got holes. But
right.
what I personally find really interesting is actually the software side. So you having to create a whole new way of automating the process of going from JPEGs and PNGs, which are very far from being optimized for tactile graphics, to something slightly more vectorized, right?
Right.
What's that involved?
So just as you said, typical images that you would download from the web or photographs that you might have on your computer are not necessarily tactile friendly. So we have implemented a set of image processing algorithms that can do things ranging from, say, binarization of the image, which would basically convert a color photograph to black and white,
right,
and with just 2 levels, all the way to representing different colors by grayscales, doing things like edge detection,
i.e.
so
four different heights.
4 different heights,
yeah.
And do edge detection and edge enhancement, so that you can actually see outlines of the pictures, outlines of features in higher contrast, so to speak.
And is this something that you think is going to go even beyond the Graphiti, the actual software that you're using? Like, that maybe there is space for a protocol for generally making images more tactile accessible? I just a thought in my head.
That's a great question. I think quite honestly, the sky's the limit. The work that we're doing, we feel, is really very early work.
Yeah.
There's a lot of room for development, a lot of room for people to explore. I think there's a whole new field, and we want to keep everything as open as possible.
So one of the limits of the current technologies is at 4 millimeters apart. Is that right? Or is it 3?
The hardware has a pitch of 4 millimeters.
About 4 millimeters,
That's
but
right.
you get around that, but you got pinch and zoom like a phone.
That's right.
And so then you can go in and out as much as you like.
Exactly.
Okay. So this is being jointly developed with APH, isn't it? And obviously I know from my own personal experience as well that APH is just pushing everything Braille related in all directions at the moment. What's your sort of your agenda over the next couple of years for APH's kind of the future of refreshable Braille and tactile graphics?
Well, we're apart from the first generation of Graphiti, we're probably working on the next generation of Reader 20, and also to help do the next generation of the Graphiti to get the pins closer together.
Yeah.
So, and then also partnering with your Canute to get those two to talk together, so that way the graphics are on one and then the text are on the other. And
for those who don't know, you have a controlling share essentially in the educational market in America. So what I find very interesting coming over here is the interest in tactile graphics. It seems to be much higher in America than I've noticed it in the UK. Where does that come from? Is that something to do with the way that things are taught? Is it just everyone talks about the Holy Grail as the combined graphics and Braille display?
Well, I think a lot of the sighted students, the curriculum are very sighted, or a lot of them are pictures and graphs and stuff, and their tests and everything. So I think that's a disadvantage for our visually impaired children in the U.S. because they can't get that as dynamic as a sighted child. So they've had to do a lot of accommodations. So this will hopefully eliminate that barrier faster instead of expecting someone to go and print something for them.
Yeah.
So the current education for the sighted student hasn't changed to accommodate the visually impaired students. So we're trying to break that gap.
And whilst you've been here in the exhibit hall, what kind of response have you had to the Graphiti?
Oh, people love it. They like drawing on it. They think it's fascinating. Even the sighted exhibitors come over to look. The graphics, they really enjoy seeing like a flag.
I can personally say that it's quite fun just to gently kind of leave your hand on and just gently drag it around for no real purpose.
That's right.
It feels almost like it's just like a relaxation thing.
Right.
And also you've been doing lots of demos in the committee meetings and so on. Have you had lots of people coming up to you after that and proposing uses for it?
Yeah, there's a lot of interest, and almost everyone that comes up to us has a new proposed use for it. From people who want to use it for science, and we get to hear lots of interesting things about how it doesn't really need to be very precise or very high resolution or perfect in different ways. Just being able to, for instance, yesterday I was talking with someone who's actually a scientist and a researcher, and he was saying that simply being able to compare two graphs side by side, even at a high level, is hugely beneficial.
Yeah.
And so a lot of different types of users.
Yeah, and just finally, when are you planning on this coming out roughly, and what would people do to register an interest in it?
So we're planning to have it ready for the market in about a year from now.
Okay.
So at the next convention is where we'll probably start selling the first batch. I think to register interest, we have a forum on our website, and APH has a website too. So if people can register there for news and updates.
So that's aph.org or
orbitresearch.com.
Okay. And your approximate price point you've yet to decide on yet? It's several $1,000s, is that?
Yeah, the price will really largely be determined by the kinds of volumes that eventually happen. The intent is to keep it under $5,000, and we're going to work very hard to make sure that's
So
possible.
I've been asking a few people this. This is my first time I've come here, but what do you think will have changed with Braille as a whole and tactile graphics as well, but by this time next year at the next convention? What are the big changes you think?
I'm hoping that the vendors that have the most expensive Braille displays, by us selling this one so cheap, that it'll disrupt the market.
Yeah.
And those prices will come down. That's my expectation. And then with the tactile graphics display, I'm hoping that we're sort of going to start pushing the envelope with the help of Orbit Research and getting more people out there and then having the prices come down as well.
Exactly. I think this is a very exciting time for Braille and tactile and graphic technologies. Just in the last 3 years, we've seen so much activity in this field, which, quite honestly, before the last couple of years, there really wasn't any.
Someone put something in the water recently, didn't
that's
they?
Right. That's right. So, my hope is that by next year this time, we have products on the market like the Graphiti, Canute, and as Heather said, overall the cost of Braille coming down.
And the piezo ones may be coming down to meet them somewhere in pathway.
Absolutely.
Heather and Venkatesh, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
United States Army, 1981 to 2007. William Hinshaw, U.S. Army, 1978 to 1981 from Hawaii. James Mays, United States